You think a place is either beautiful or it is not, that a mountain is a mountain, a beach is a beach, and it will be there whenever you decide to show up. But some of the most beautiful sights in America are not places at all. They are appointments. There is a waterfall in Yosemite that turns to liquid fire for about 10 minutes on a handful of February evenings, and then it is gone for a year. There is a bay in Puerto Rico that only glows when the moon disappears. All across this country, the best shows nature puts on run on a schedule, and the whole trick is simple. Be there when it happens. So today we are counting down 10 of them, from a valley of tulips you can drive to, all the way up to that waterfall of fire at number 1. Set your alarm. Number 10. The Skagit Valley, Washington. For about 3 weeks every April, an hour north of Seattle, this farmland turns into a living painting you can walk straight into. Most people think of the Netherlands when they picture fields like this, and never realize 3/4 of the tulips grown commercially in the entire United States come out of this one valley. The festival runs the whole month, but the flowers answer to the weather, not the calendar, and peak bloom usually lands in the first couple of weeks of April. This is not a single garden. It is a self-guided drive between farms like Rosengard, where more than 200 acres of tulips are laid out in solid blocks of color, and the town of Mount Vernon sits in the middle with a walkable downtown to end the day. Step out into a row at eye level and the stripes of red and gold and deep purple run all the way to the tree line, so bright it looks staged. Then a cold snap comes, the petals drop, and the fields go green. Flowers at least get planted. The next one, nobody plants. Before we get to number 9, if you would rather catch these windows than hear about them after they have already closed, subscribe. Think of this channel as your calendar for the shows America only runs once a year. Number 9. The Maroon Bells, Colorado. 10 miles outside the town of Aspen stand 2 mountains so photographed that you have almost certainly seen them without knowing their name. And for about 2 weeks in late September, the slopes below them turn to gold. These are 2 peaks in the Elk Mountains, both just over 14,000 feet, mirrored in a glassy sheet of water called Maroon Lake, and the aspens that blanket the valley change all at once. The catch is timing and access. Peak color usually falls in the last week or so of September. It is the hardest reservation of the year to land, and in season you reach the lake by shuttle, not your own car. Arrive at first light before the wind picks up and the Twin Peaks stand doubled in the water, gold running down to the shoreline without a ripple to break it. Aspen itself gives you somewhere to sleep and eat before the early start. A mountain will hold its gold for a couple of weeks if the storms hold off. The next one holds its color for only a few days, and one windy afternoon can end it. Number 8. The Tidal Basin, Washington, D.C. The capital of the United States turns pink for a few days every spring, and the whole tradition traces back to a gift. In 1912, Japan sent about 3,000 cherry trees as a token of friendship, and some of those originals are still standing more than 100 years later. The Park Service calls it peak bloom when 70% of the trees around the tidal basin have opened. And here is the part nobody warns you about. It lasts only a few days. One rainy, windy afternoon can tear the petals down and end it early, which is exactly why the crowds pour in the moment it starts. Walk the loop around the water at dawn, before the tour buses, and you pass under a low pink canopy with the Jefferson Memorial on one side and the Washington Monument rising through the branches on the other. Show up in the wrong week and you get bare trees or plain green leaves. Flowers you can at least try to plan around. The next one keeps its own schedule, close to 1 million of them, and you hear it before you ever see it. Number 7. The Platte River, Nebraska. Every spring, roughly 80% of the sandhill cranes on the planet funnel down onto one stretch of one river in the middle of America, and the sound of it is something you feel in your chest. From the middle of February into early April, close to 1 million cranes stage along the Platte near the town of Kearney, feeding in the cornfields by day and returning to roost on the shallow sandbars at night. Numbers peak in the second half of March, and by around the 10th of April, they lift off almost all at once and are gone. Book a spot in a riverside blind near the Roe Sanctuary for the evening return. As the light fades, wave after wave of cranes pours out of the sky and down onto the water, calling the whole way until the river is packed solid with birds. They have been doing this here for at least 2.5 million years, long before anyone thought to come and watch. So be there when it happens. That gathering fills a river. The next one fills a single spring, and you can hear them breathing. Number 6, Crystal River, Florida. When the Gulf turns cold, hundreds of manatees crowd into North Small Spring that stays a steady 72 degrees all year, and you take the whole thing in from a boardwalk a few feet above them. Three Sisters Springs sits inside a national wildlife refuge on Florida's Gulf Coast, and the colder the weather gets, the more manatees pile in to keep warm. Manatee season runs from the middle of November through the end of March, and on one record cold day, the refuge counted 528 of them in a single morning. Come early on a chilly day after a strong cold front, and walk the boardwalk that circles the spring. Below you, the clear aqua water fills with slow gray backs, surfacing and snuffling and drifting, calves tucked in beside their mothers. You keep your distance and simply watch. This one you see by daylight. The next 4 only reveal themselves once the sun goes down. Number 5, Pacific Grove, California. A single grove on the California coast fills with clustered monarch butterflies every winter, and the ones that gather here are strange even by monarch standards. The town calls itself Butterfly Town, USA, and it earns the title. From the middle of October into February, western monarchs settle into the Monarch Grove Sanctuary and hang in the eucalyptus in dense clusters, thousands to a branch, so still and folded that they look like clumps of dead leaves. The generation that overwinters here lives up to 6 months, roughly 6 times longer than the monarchs before them. And touching one carries a $1,000 fine, so you look and nothing more. Stand under the trees on a cool morning and wait for the sun. When it finally reaches the grove and warms them, what looked like brown leaves lifts off all at once into a slow orange cloud that fills the air above your head. By day, the sky is full of butterflies. After dark, the sky itself begins to move. Number 4, Fairbanks, Alaska. There is one American city that sits directly under the ring of sky where the northern lights concentrate, which means you can chase one of the planet's greatest shows without ever leaving the country or reaching for a passport. Fairbanks lies beneath what is called the auroral oval, and across its long season, from late August into April, the aurora appears on average 4 nights out of every 5 whenever the sky is clear and dark enough. More than 200 nights a year the lights are possible, and a stay of just a few nights pushes your odds well past 90%. Direct flights come in from cities like Seattle and Chicago, so this is about as easy as a bucket list trip in America gets. Bundle up, get clear of the town lights, and wait on the frozen ground near midnight. When it starts, a green curtain unrolls across the whole sky and begins to ripple, folding and brightening while your breath fogs in front of it. So be there when it happens. The sky glows here. The next one glows in the water, and only on the darkest nights of the month. Number 3, Mosquito Bay on the island of Vieques, Puerto Rico. This is the brightest bioluminescent bay in the world, an actual world record, and it lights up neon blue with every stroke of your paddle, but only when the moon has gone dark. The glow comes from millions of tiny organisms in the water that flash the instant they are disturbed, as many as 700,000 in a single gallon, all held inside a small mangrove-ringed bay with almost no light pollution around it. Because it lives on darkness, the bay is only at its brightest for the couple of weeks each month around the new moon, and tours are not even permitted on the nights around a full moon. You reach Vieques by a short ferry or a small plane, then head out on a night kayak tour. Swimming is not allowed, so you paddle, and every stroke throws off a trail of glowing blue-green light while the stars hang overhead. Water that lights up when you touch it is hard enough to believe. The next one is a whole forest that flashes on and off in perfect unison. Number 2, Elkmont in Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Tennessee. For about 2 weeks in late spring, thousands of fireflies here do something almost nothing else on Earth can do. They flash in perfect unison. These are the synchronous fireflies, one of only a handful of species anywhere that coordinate their light. For roughly 8 peak nights in late May or early June, they gather near the old settlement of Elkmont and put on the show, and it is so sought after that the Park Service runs a lottery just to hand out the parking spots. Win one and you walk in before dark and stand still on the hillside. Then it begins. The whole forest pulses on together in a wave of light, drops into total blackness for a few seconds, and pulses again, over and over, all around you. No flash photography, no noise, just the dark and the rhythm. You cannot buy your way in, and you cannot fake the timing. You simply have to be there when it happens. Number 1. Horsetail Fall in Yosemite, California. For about 10 minutes on a handful of February evenings, an ordinary waterfall on the side of El Capitan catches the setting sun and appears to pour molten fire down 3,000 feet of granite. This is the Yosemite firefall, and it is not a trick of a lens. Horsetail Fall only runs in late winter, and everything has to line up at once. There has to be enough snowmelt feeding the water, the western sky has to be perfectly clear at sunset, and the sun has to sit at exactly the right angle, which only happens around the middle of February. When it all comes together, the thin ribbon of water glows orange and red like lava for a few fleeting minutes. And then the light slides off, and it is over. It grew so famous that the park required reservations for years just to manage the crowds. Get there hours early, claim your patch of ground near El Capitan alongside 100 strangers, and watch the last light climb down the cliff. For those few minutes, the mountain is on fire. Then it goes dark. So here is what all 10 of these have in common. Not one is a place you can simply show up to whenever it happens to suit you. The tulips, the gold on the mountain, the fire on the cliff, they are not scenery sitting still and waiting for you. They are appointments this country keeps with anyone willing to keep them back. That is the strange and wonderful catch of the most beautiful things in America. You do not get to choose the day. You only get to be there when it happens. So, pick one. Circle a date on next year's calendar, build a trip around a new moon or a February sunset, and go stand on that frozen ground or that riverbank or that dark forest hillside and watch the country switch on a light just for the people who showed up. If this is the kind of travel you would rather do than scroll past, like this video and subscribe, and I will keep finding you the next one.